Good morning, Australia, and welcome to Sunday, the 28th of July, 2019. In this video, as we do every week, we will attempt to understand what Rupert Murdoch and his billionaire advertisers want us to know. I am armed with a copy of the Sunday Telegraph and a mug of coffee, and if not the truth, then a desire to get at the truth and apply some critical thinking to the headlines. So what do we got? Front page. Oh my god, it's a swimmer. She looks sad. Why is she sad? She's failed a doping test. Australian swimmer has failed a doping test. This is grim news for the true believers. So doping bombshell by Amy Harris. I'm innocent. Aussie swim star sent home after failing test. Shayna's shame. Shayna Jack is the name of the swimmer, which, you know, isn't really hugely prominent. I mean, yeah, the first name's in huge type, but you go a fair way before you figure out who we're talking about. So we'll talk more about her failed drug test as we go on, I'm sure. Also, the top strap, Scaff, first words behind bars with Brennan Hills. I'm not a rapist. He won't say sorry. Why he should stay locked up. Which does seem to have judged the facts of the matter, doesn't it? Then again, I mean, yeah, I'm not saying he's not lawfully serving time. Oh, let's crack in. What do we got? Oh, a 2-page Foxtel ad. Pages 2 and 3 of the paper, Foxtel. Now your favourite Foxtel and Netflix shows are side by side. Australia's best TV and on-demands, now all in one place on IQ4. Have it all. Sign up for a full bottle Foxtel subscription. Yeah. And there's a funny little note here noting that the HBO, because there's Big Little Lies on the cover, owns Big Little Lies, but there's no need for the Stranger Things one, which I guess Netflix has just authorised. Now, interestingly, because I thought this was a bundle, but you still need to get a Netflix streaming membership. So it's just, you can use your Foxtel box for this if you don't know how to get Netflix. Wow. Well, that'll explain why I didn't need regulatory approval. There's a few people who are wondering that. Mick's Picks. What does Mick the editor think we should be reading? Oh, number 1 of Mick's Picks is the 7-day TV guide. Because in 2019, you need your TV guide printed out and on the coffee table so you can find the shows you want to watch. Yeah, right, Mick. Good. Number 2, my girlfriend wants us to go to a sex club, plus the ultimate guide to protecting your skin against the cold. Number 3, Lost Boys, riot stabbings, and violent attacks are now routine in our juvenile detention centres. Linda Silmalis looks at why your mates are running amok and what it means to you if we don't control them. Right, escape the winter, best holiday deals to book right now with our advertisers. New Italian job, pasta is back. Number 6, Shayna's real estate hacks, how to get your house ready for spring sales. Because getting your house ready so you can sell it is something everyone wants to be doing, isn't it? And then Blaze of Glory, take a look inside the dangerous world of fighting fires. Jake Morfitt spends some time, so not a lot of time, with the forgotten heroes of emergency service personnel. Also in the Stella magazine, we have Margot Robbie, David Wenham, and why Virginia Trioli chose radio. I'm not brave enough to take a swing at Latrioli on that. Right, finally, apparently we've got some Ray Hadley. It's been the biggest shake-up in Australian radio, so who has emerged as a new power at 2GB? Honestly, the number of pages this paper devotes to who the old man shouting at the microphone on 2GB is quite astonishing, given that it has almost no value to the lives of, well, maybe not, it does have value to the lives of their readers, but you'd like to think a newspaper would be trying to add value to anyone who might pick it up. which is not really the case, is it? Okay, so in a page 5 preview for the Stella lift out, Margot Robbie's looking pretty. And then saying, don't waste time talking about my looks. If there's one thing Margot Robbie hates, it's talking about her looks. It's easy to decry the shallowness of the beauty standard when you look like Margot Robbie, isn't it? Imagine the difference in tone if it was... No, I'm not going to name names. Anyway, someone of less unfortunate appearance begging the media not to talk about their unfortunate appearance. I don't know what the moral of the story is there. I just... Yeah, seems interesting. Climate change for HSC students. Exclusive! Jack Morford again, he's popping up a bit. Climate change will be officially included in HSC geography lessons when the syllabus is overhauled for the first time in 20 years, but students will be asked to make up their own minds about what is causing it. What, we're going to teach creationism next and let students make up their own minds about that, are we? Aussie swim star doping scandal. There we go. I wouldn't knowingly take drugs. Oh, I must have taken them unknowingly. Moderately interesting if you take a look at... There we go. The toothy, brightly lit picture. Hancock Prospecting's really got their sponsorship all over swim team, don't they? Alright, the Telegraph's talking tough about every cheat must pay and the brunt of punishment coming on, dirty drug cheats. Yep. Oh, unless they're Shane Warne, of course. We do like to throw the drug cheats under the bus. Right, Sun attacks Horton the hater. Chinese bad boy Sun Yang has unleashed on Mac Horton, describing him as a hater. Yeah, probably. Swimming Australia is defending its drug silence. The thing to note is that there's a follow-up test, which would also have to come up positive before we actually are talking in conclusive terms. So, innocent until proven guilty and stuff like that. Mohammed Scaff's jailhouse rant. I'm not a rapist, so I'm not sorry. Alright, apparently he's due for release soon. And the Sunday Telegraph is doing a page 9 editorial. Literally, it's called an editorial. No time for leniency. Many right-thinking people will question why we give such repulsive criminals soapbox. He's only a few years from seeing out his sentence. So, now's the time to have this conversation. It's not the worst time to have a conversation, is it? So they're saying they should get a continuing detention order once the sentence is complete and keep applying it every 12 months to keep him behind bars. Personally, if he served out the full duration of the sentence given to him for the crime, I would have thought he's allowed to say and believe or say what he wants, and that's largely irrelevant. I thought this paper was into freedom of speech, but apparently only freedom of speech when it's wealthy white men. Hasten to add, I'm not questioning Scaff's imprisonment. Just saying if anyone gets a sentence and serves it, I kind of feel they've literally done their time, haven't they? Nah, we'll just lock up people we don't like forever. Why not? Apparently there's trouble at Kellyville High School and 7 former and present teachers have gone to their local MP to complain. Grant Hackett is expecting another baby, and apparently, why not? I felt I was going to hit 40 and I wanted another opportunity as a dad, says Grant Hackett. Okay. It's the third baby. I'm not quite sure why Grant Hackett's treated like a member of the royal family, but there he is. Air Force joins hunt for Aussie's killers. Canada's armed forces were last night being brought in to help the manhunt for the suspected murderers of Aussie tourist Lucas Fowler and his American girlfriend China Deese. Yep, well, I hope they catch those two. I don't know, anytime you see someone running around in full camouflages and they're not in the military, you got to assume they're a bit unhinged. Or going hunting. Face of our fight to stop killer virus. Sue Dunlevy, National Health Reporter. This is meningococcal. Yeah, I mean, it's a nasty disease and there are a lot of nasty diseases and I'd like them all stopped, I guess. So there is a little mention here of the fact that despite the ongoing hysteria, vaccination rates in Australia are now at an all-time high. The system appears to be working. Everything's fine. I wouldn't say everything's fine, but this small part of the picture is actually not cause for concern. But yeah, let's vilify Byron Bay people as crazy hippies compromising their children's health. And don't get me wrong, the ones who don't want to vaccinate are doing that, but as a society, this seems to be doing better than a lot of other areas. Anarchist Medhurst, probably the biggest news of the day. Nats defy PM over Newstart increase. The National Party has defied Prime Minister Scott Morrison by secretly conducting its own economic modelling on boosting... Now, they've called this the economical modelling, which I think is just frankly shitty writing and terrible editing to not pick it up. So economic modelling on boosting the Newstart unemployment benefit. This is in large part because the Nationals have realised that unemployment in their seats is colossally high, and a lot of people who vote for them are living on Newstart. It's a shame that the people living in urban Australia who've been living under an unbelievably terrible social safety net haven't counted as human beings until this comes home to roost for National Party members, but at least the system's kind of stumbling towards doing something about it. Won't be much, won't be enough, but something. Right, half-baked farewell. Fans first to alert Preston of his MasterChef exit, so we've got a whinge by Matt Preston, basically. He was blown away by the support he received from fans. I mean, it's MasterChef, it's just a crappy reality TV show. The ratings have not been good this year. It's probably got more to do with it than any sense of justice. The fact that his great mate George is a nasty wage thief. I mean, really, ripping $8 million off hospitality workers. Why didn't he steal the tip jar while he was at it? Oh, do we know what happened to the tips? That's often a vexed area in a lot of places. Data deal may save you 1,000 more than 6 million Australians could save as much as 1,000 a year if the federal government passes new laws to give customers access to their personal digital data. So the idea is that if we access our data and get it packaged up in a zip file or some form of XML, I guess, and then we feed it to more companies, so we spread our data around more, they can suggest cheaper deals if we change our electricity providers or change our mortgage providers. It's no small business changing bank. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg says it'll be a game changer. Harnessing your data for your own benefit, but you're still pumping your data into more and more providers when what a lot of people, most people want is to not have to give their data out as much and not have these companies knowing as much about them, but that's not the brave new world we're talking about there. I guarantee it's not the consumer who's going to benefit at the end of the day from this, but sure, go for it, Josh. Right, supermarket staff are marking receipts as shoppers scramble to get their hands on Woolworths, Lion King and Coles Little Shop collectibles. If you're pulling your collectibles out of Woolworths and Coles, I guarantee they're going to have no value in the future. I mean, if it makes you happy, go for it, but queuing for a little piece of plastic junk that's been made in such numbers as to never be worth anything. Yeah, great. Oh, here we go. Mum inside club as girl 3 found in car. Her mother allegedly left her young child locked in a car in the middle of the night while she went to a club. The 3-year-old girl was rescued after almost an hour in the car in Bankstown after security officers alerted police. Police arrived around 1 a.m. They found the mother inside the Bankstown Sports Club while her terrified daughter was inside the SUV. Police alleged she left the child unattended for 50 minutes. Now, for those who don't know, Bankstown Sports Club is a building so large as to be almost impossible to comprehend it. It just about needs its own postcode. It's a big building. Wow, the woman who can't be legally identified was refused bail. So, the mother left the child alone in a car, and now we've taken the mother away completely. Cool. Okay, that's how we're rolling now. Don't get me wrong, your car is not an appropriate babysitter after midnight at the Bankstown Sports Club. Right, Linda Silmalis, we got pictures of the youth prison. It's all in shades of crap. Yeah, I mean, you know, black, brown, beige, but like a 3D shooter. Right, Packer sets sail. James Packer's girlfriend Kylie Lim walks the couple's dog, and Mr. Packer looks on as new yacht IJE is stocked for its maiden voyage. So the icebreaker that used to be his yacht wasn't big enough and luxurious enough. So Indigo Packer, the eldest child of Australian billionaire James Packer, is planning a big maiden boat trip for Packer's planning it for his daughter. So the boat is called IJE in honour of Mr. Packer's children Indigo, Jackson and Emmanuel. Mr. Packer was smiling as he sipped champagne and enjoyed lunch on deck. There we go. If I was luncheoning on the deck of my giant super yacht while sipping champagne, I imagine I too may crack a smile. Be nice, wouldn't it? So the boat is the ultimate example of luxury afloat, with its own hair salon, a swimming pool and spa. The taps are made of gold and there is a $160,000 chandelier. Workers also claim that Mr. Packer had 2 Rolls-Royce cars delivered and parked in the hull. Mr. Packer, 51, was seen mingling with about 30 guests who were enjoying drinks ahead of the voyage. Interestingly, at the back end of this story, they mention that a joint 9 News investigation has accused Crown Resorts of reaping millions from the Chinese high roller market. Then concludes with a lawyer for Mr. Packer said he had no knowledge of the company's conduct in China and was not involved in running the company at the time. Don't have to be involved, the money just rolls in, eh? Right, Sports Minister John Sidoti, that's New South Wales Sports Minister, is promising the football stadium will be delivered on time and within budget. This is with them cancelling Lend-Lease's contract. I imagine there will be hell to pay from Lend-Lease about that. I don't think they'll be very happy about their shabby treatment there. Alright, Sydney Radio's Game of Thrones. Boy, you've been writing too much Game of Thrones copy to compare Sydney Radio to Westeros. So the key players are Peter Costello, Nine's non-executive chairman, former Liberal treasurer and a fan of Jones. Alan Jones, veteran 2GB voice on a mission after management's failed move to retire him. Ray Hadley, a noted successor to Jones whose power grows despite bullying claims. Hugh Marks, Nine's CEO, who sees 2GB as a platform on which to promote Nine's assets. Aaron Molan, Nine Sports presenter, whose radio career has had Hadley's support. Deb Knight, anchor of Nine's Troubled Today show and contributor to Steve Price's 2GB afternoon show. Adam Lang, 2GB CEO, tasked with replacing Jones with Hadley at breakfast before the plan was scuttled following Nine's merger with Fairfax. So it's interesting that Peter Costello, despite occasionally trying to paint himself as a moderate or man of the people, is shaping as the power that's keeping Alan Jones on the air for all the damage that causes the nation. Right, 2 pages for Channel 7's Australia's Got Talent. Full page ad from Optus, just saying we're great. Well, they're saying why pay more? Winning the CanStar Blue Provider of the Year for Phone on a Plan apparently is that's the ad. So Patty Mills, the Australian who plays in the American National NBA basketball. Mills has flown into the town of Walgett to pay for emergency water out of his own pocket. I have nothing but admiration for Mr. Mills, who's making this payment with his own money. I would question whether the state government of New South Wales should in fact be paying for emergency water for its citizens. Given we can fly detectives to Canada just because someone's son's been killed. Someone very important in the New South Wales Police, I hasten to add. Well, I'm glad we've got basketballer-based water provision. So, man blames fire on imaginary intruder. A restaurateur accused of stabbing himself, killing his dog, and setting his Surrey Hills eatery on fire was allegedly motivated by financial gain. Angelo Ziotis hung his head as he was denied bail in Parramatta Bail Court yesterday after he was arrested over the bizarre blaze. It's very unusual for an arson to ever get caught, but he might not have been very good at it. I mean, it's bad enough pulling a failed insurance job on your own business, but to kill your dog in the process. All right, page 30, we have the top property tips if you're planning to sell your house. That's relatable, useful information. Followed by all the auction action. I mean, these people ever actually moved house? Right, the plan to reinvent a fallen cricket star, Dave Warner 2.0. This is some very basic crisis management stuff, but fundamentally, if he scores lots of runs, we'll forgive him, and if he doesn't, then we'll keep making jokes about him. That's how it works. So apparently the crackdown on opioids is leading to patients dying of cancer being denied pain medication. I mean, it'd just be nice if we could trust doctors to prescribe what we need, when we need it, because we need it, rather than taking bribes from pharmaceutical companies to stuff the whole nation full of highly addictive drugs for no good reason. Why can't we just do the sensible, clever thing, the good thing? And if we can't trust doctors, I mean, for most of human history, doctors were quite untrustworthy, so anything that doctors not peddling blatant snake oil is a relatively recent thing. Pretty much, it'd be interesting. I suspect the world wars had a lot to do with the improvement in medicine. The Source, battle to be next Gladys. Right, this is New South Wales Treasurer Dom Paratet's ambitions. Has there ever been a New South Wales Treasurer who didn't plan to be Premier one day? Maybe, but I doubt it. Right, now Brooke Lee-Bruggen is leaving Parliament House, and apparently that's worth telling us about as half of one of Canberra's most powerful couples. She was the media advisor for Paul Fletcher. Her husband Julian remains a staffer for the Prime Minister. She's going to a job in the private sector. And Amanda Rishworth has had a baby, the Labor Senator, I believe. No, sorry, MP. Yes. Congratulations. So the Art Gallery of New South Wales is bigging up a Italian old master that had a brush with shipwreck. So there we go. That's a good puff piece for them to get on page 36. All right, Sue Dunleavy's still talking about drugs, new drug help for brain cancer. Brutal jail fight between two evil scum. So Jill Maher's murderer Adrian Bailey had a vicious fight with double murderer Stephen Hunter in prison that guards named The Thriller and The Chiller. The brutal battle went on for about 3 minutes because neither wants to press charges. Bit of mutually assured destruction there. I'd be concerned the guards are making jokes about fights. Be even more concerned they're videoing them and selling them. So the Snitch has a tangled story of cops having sex with each other and taking pictures of each other naked and leading to revenge porn charges. Apparently there's a ban on cops having affairs with other cops. Not sure why they should be a privileged class. 2 pages of goodbye to Margaret Fulton. Right, page 38. An Australian father of 3 was killed diving near the Spanish island of Ibiza after being struck by a boat operated by a professional photographer. I'm not entirely sure why we don't have police flying to Spain to help with that. So the zombie drug crocodile is in New South Wales, the feared flesh-eating zombie drug from Russia. Okay, and then we've got a big lift out on how great fireys are, and you know what? Fireys are great. Sport, football, rail journeys, world shock at our Stars drug failure, Jack terrified of backlash. So Mark Coyne has quit his role at the NRL. Apparently the Australian women's water polo team were dancing on a nightclub balcony that collapsed and killed 2 partygoers in South Korea on Friday. Thankfully our girl's not injured. Cricket, horses, page after page of horses, and then the TAB form guide. Assume the lift out TV guide is in here somewhere. Lift outs, more lift outs. Full page for Chemist Warehouse in the middle of the tab guide. It's interesting that they think the market for discount pharmaceuticals is reading up on the dogs, which I think was the harness race. Anyway. Right, media personality Renee Garter suffers from depression, but being open about her condition and talking up boxing has helped her get back on track, writes Jamie Pandaram, who is quite a good rugby writer. I'm not quite sure about his mental health She's talking up what she wants talked up, isn't he? So Dane Rampy, who they're calling Ramper, the Swans player with rather good hair. He's enjoying a rise and rise. So not only is the Ramper, he's the Great Dane. When your name's Dane Rampy, the press have just got a lot to work with, don't they? Cats aim not to be roadkill. Slightly poor taste for anyone who's lost a cat on the road. Right, Matty John's podcast. Subscribe to Australia's #1 sports podcast. NRL analysis and banter at its very best. Oh, banter endorsed by the Sunday Telegraph. Could one hope for more? Full page ad for KO, which is the Foxtel streaming sports service. Jessica Halloran is back with a full page of sports and drugs. Another picture of Shayna Jack in her swimmers, which is going to sell a lot of newspapers over the next few weeks, I suspect. Australia, we now have a problem. Our backyard pool is no longer looking sparkling clean. Back to how great fireys are. Quite a lot of women fireys in this feature, which that's good. So we noted last week that a minor photography prize had got a page because it had good photos, and got another page of good photos. This was a competition done with the National Gallery for their Monet Impression Sunrise exhibition. But yeah, if you are running a photographic prize anywhere in Australia, and certainly in New South Wales, I highly recommend sending the winners into the Telegraph. They will publish them. So we've got a full page ad for the True Crime Australia podcast. World news, Europe bags Boris's Brexit. There's an issue that we're going to see play out in a really interesting way, that the English are very used to doing over the Irish. Very historically used to that. And they are coming at these negotiations, it feels, as if that's just the way they do things. And for the first time in history, Ireland is now backed by the full weight of the European Union, which is not going to let what it views as its citizens get done over by the departing English. I think Britain is about to, England in particular, is about to get a very nasty wake-up call, and a long overdue one. The Hong Kongers are now complaining about the triads that are beating them up. The whole thing, I think the protesters need to formulate some realistic goals pretty quickly and negotiate a way out while they still have a position of power, because things are about to get ugly there. How wife got injured hubby out of volcano. Safely back home in America, a newlywed groom has said he's forever grateful to the wife who overcame her fear of heights and blood to save his life after he fell into a dormant volcano on their honeymoon. You know what? That's a great story, but as world news, there's things that are happening in the world that people need to know about. Not really. Trump has the permission to fund building the wall, which is great that he's going to have to build a huge amount of infrastructure out in remote areas, which will actually make it easier to get to America for anyone who has crossed the wall. So the Bedford Investor has advice on the best ways to spend your tax return. Pay down your credit cards. And then we're on to Peter Credlin, who says the increase in super is far from super. That could be the sub-editor's fault. It could be Peter's. She seems to have a lot of control on this page. You always know that an idea has legs when its opponents try to shut it down rather than argue against it. Last week, coalition backbencher after coalition backbencher, 8 of them in all, spoke out publicly against increasing the compulsory super levy. I'm sure the PM would have preferred these MPs to voice their concerns privately, but rather than being a sign of disunity as the usual groupthink commentators tried to claim, the fact that backbenchers can speak their mind and even cross the floor to vote against their own side if they feel so strongly about an issue is a great strength of the Liberal Party. Labour, on the other hand, penalises such free thought with expulsion. Yeah, there's a lot of free thinking going on in the Liberal Party room. The issue here is that the Peter's little friends really hate the fact the industry super funds have so much money, and with that money, power, and they've decided they would prefer super be a plaything of the rich as it used to be. And the arguments on super are complex and poorly understood. But when your motivation is simply that the industry super funds have ties to labour and are treating their customers better than the other funds, to attack them seems uncharitably motivated. Let's leave it at that. Thumbs up from Peter. John Howard, still making a contribution to public life after turning 80. Long may that continue. Okay, thumbs down. So this is the thumbs down to Albo for doing what Peter wants, which is a bit churlish. Thumbs down against foreign fighters' terrorist legislation, then backing down. Against drought support, then backing down. Just like tax 2. Anthony Albanese is off to a shocking start as Labour leader. He's doing what you want. Just goes to show there's not much upside to doing what they want, Albo. Be your own man. Be a Labour leader. So Peter Gleeson on the Peter Cradlin Sky News page is talking about how police have to respond to violent people who wish them harm. He's noting that mental health or drugs, or in most instances both, is what leads to those situations. And this is an interesting paragraph. Last year Australia spent close to $10 billion on dealing with mental health. Clearly the strategies are not working. Possibly the strategies are underfunded. But we seem to be talking about defunding mental health because, there's some implications in there. Until normal people can afford to see psychiatrists when they need them, and there are enough psychiatrists, and we need a lot more psychiatrists. We're not serious about mental health. And I'm not talking about psychologists and counsellors, I'm talking about psychiatrists who can prescribe medication. If it's needed. I'm not saying every mental health issue requires a pharmacological response. I'm just saying it's a really important part of the tool chest. So opinion page, Duncan Lay, Lessons in Driving Teens Mad. I know we've had a bunch of editorials through the paper. The Westeros correspondent is talking about teaching his kids to drive. Standard rite of passage. ScoMo should ignore the fake news out of America and play his trump card, says Piers Ackerman. Piers has been talking to a New York taxi driver, who's his source for Washington. So the Telegraph is campaigning, and good on them for the government to introduce free meningococcal B vaccine. Warren's done a cartoon about James Packer's yacht trip for young Indigo. Indigo's 11, which I've learned from the cartoon, but didn't learn from the story on the subject. Maybe I missed it. Health Hacker has got Dipper's health tips. I know Dipper's looking quite chunky in that photo, but I guess he's still alive. Page after page of real estate, as if it's racing. I mean, it literally looks like a form guide. They're still getting people to send in their wedding pictures from yesteryear. Sells a couple of papers, I guess. Nothing too interesting in films. The food section's gone to Mittagong. I guess sold them some targeted features. Is literally the only reason they'll have done that, is for the advertising they could scrape out of them. TV's Winter Binge Fest. Now you got your Foxtel and your Netflix all in one place. Although Killing Eve on the ABC's made it into there. Right, so Idris Elba's in the new Fast and Furious. No doubt going to make more money than God. Right, so Annette Sharp is promoting the sisters Amy and Sophie Tabur are recapping their battle with Seven in their new podcast Outspoken. So the podcast-based economy rocks on. I guess if you're going to give as much attention as this paper does to who's saying what on 2GB, why not? Include the wave of the future in podcasts. That's it. Bit of a quiet week this week. Thank you very much if you've made it this far. I really do appreciate the growing legion of people who are making the effort. Thanks very much. And of course, if you think you know someone who'd appreciate this, then don't be shy. Let people know. We'll have a look at getting some t-shirts going soon. Okay, folks. I will be back next week.